I'm writing this because I feel like I have no one else to talk to. My world has completely crumbled in the past week, and I don't know how to move forward. My girlfriend, age 19, and I, age 19, have been together since high school. We were each other's firsts for everything. First kiss, first love, and we lost our virginity to each other. It felt like the perfect love story, as corny as that sounds. Even after high school, when we ended up going to different universities, about an hour's drive apart, we made it work. We'd meet almost every week and spend breaks together. But I've struggled to make lasting friends in college, and most of my high school friends have drifted away. I felt lonely, and she was the one person who kept me happy and motivated. She was my world. We've had arguments now and then, and sometimes these fights would lead to temporary breaks, days when we'd block each other or stop talking. For me, these breaks were hell. Without her, I had no one to lean on. Meanwhile, she always seemed fine, surrounded by her friends. But even during these breaks, I never pursued anyone else, and as far as I know, neither did she. A few months ago, during one of these breaks, I saw on her friend's Instagram story that she and her friends were at a party with a guy from our high school who I absolutely hated. He was one of those arrogant fraternity types with whom I had altercations. She was friends with him, but cut him off when we started dating because she knew how much I disliked him. When I confronted her about it later, she said it was just a party and she didn't talk to him. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more going on, but I didn't find anything suspicious when I checked her phone. Yes, I know it was wrong to snoop, but I couldn't help it. Fast forward to Halloween. We had another argument, this time about something she said about one of my relatives. I thought it was really rude, and she didn't apologize, so I blocked her. She ended up going to the Halloween party without me, which wasn't unusual since I wasn't invited and was just planning to tag along. For the first time, our break lasted a whole week. I caved and reached out to her because I couldn't take the loneliness anymore. When we talked, she told me bluntly that she hooked up with the guy I hated. At first, I thought she was joking, but she showed me a screenshot of their Snapchat conversations. I asked her why she did it, and she said I thought we were broken up. She's not wrong. We were technically on a break, but this has shattered me. This was someone she knew I hated, and she did this just days after our argument. It feels like such a betrayal. Intimacy has always been something very special to me, and to think she gave that to him makes me sick. It's made all my insecurities about my looks and intimacy performance come back. I can't stop wondering if she's been talking to him behind my back since that party months ago. She ended things completely after this, saying we shouldn't get back together. It's been a week, and I feel like I'm falling apart. I live with my mom, who still thinks we're together, and I don't have the energy to break the news to her. She supported our relationship so much. Every day feels like torture. I can't focus in class, and I've been driving recklessly without realizing it. Every love song or happy couple I see makes me want to disappear. I feel like the world is colder now, like I don't belong. Meanwhile, all my old friends from high school seem to be thriving in college, and I'm just a lonely loser who lost his girlfriend to the one person I despise most. I don't know how to deal with this. I don't know how to move forward. Please, if anyone has been through something similar, I need advice or support. I'm lost. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Ross, is that you? You were on a break. Just kidding. And maybe you won't even get the reference because I realize that you're younger than this television show's last episode. Anywho, kid, your ex is right about something. You two should not get back together. I'm sorry you're going through this. Heartbreaks are really tough, especially the first one, and especially when it happens at such a young age, it usually does. We tend to experience real physical pain. No wonder they call it a heartbreak. That's the feeling. But hang in there, it's going to pass. It will hurt like hell, but you will get through it. And you are going to learn and grow from this awful experience. It will make you stronger. You have your whole life ahead of you, and possibly a few or many more heartbreaks along the way. And you will break a few or many hearts too. That is life, you know? Things end, it's a natural cycle of life. Either you lose them by choice or by death. The earlier you accept that certainty in life, the easier it gets to move forward in these situations. Focus on yourself now. Try to get involved in groups of people with shared hobbies. It will make you happy, and it will drastically increase your chances of finding people that you will click with. Whether you find someone to love or just to be friends with, you'll be setting yourself up for success. I wish you all the best. Comment 2. A very solid takeaway from this would be to not push people away unless you want them to go away. Conflicts are resolved with kind, respectful communication, not with the silent treatment. Punishing behavior has no place in a relationship. I have found that I cannot form a healthy relationship unless I also have healthy friendships. Crossing a river with only a one-rope bridge is extremely risky. If you're held up by several ropes and one of them breaks, it's not the end of the world. Focus on building healthy friendships. Get some therapy if you need to. Until you learn how to build good friendships, you'll never know how to build a good, solid, stable relationship. Now, for the update. The day after the breakup, I was kinda numb, just going through the motions. Then my mom casually mentions how excited she is to see my ex at Thanksgiving dinner. Like, seriously? You couldn't have picked a worse time to talk about that? I just kinda shrugged it off, but inside I was like, how the heck can you be excited about this? You know we broke up, right? Apparently not. A few days later, I'm in my room, just trying to escape from reality when I overhear my mom on the phone with someone. She's talking about how much my ex has meant to our family. I mean, I get it, they love her. But come on, a little sensitivity, please. I felt like I was in a different universe where everyone was just fine and dandy, except for me. A week passes, and my buddy invites me to a Halloween party at his house. I was reluctant to go, but I figured, what the heck? I needed to get out of my mom's house where everything reminded me of my ex. So I went, trying to distract myself by mingling, chatting, and playing games. But of course, that didn't go as planned. I walk into the living room, and there she is. My ex, with the guy she cheated on me with, all cuddled up and laughing together in a corner. I couldn't believe my eyes. I felt like I was in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I just stood there for a second, feeling like I was in slow motion. Then I turned around and walked right out of there. Later that week, my mom surprises me with an early Thanksgiving dinner at home. She just loves the holidays, and apparently, so do I, whether I like it or not. I'm forced to help cook while suppressing thoughts of my ex. It felt like I was in a cooking show, except I was the only one not having fun. The night before Thanksgiving, I'm mindlessly scrolling through social media when I stumble upon a post from my ex and that guy, looking all cozy and happy. It made my stomach turn. I just wanted to throw my phone against the wall. The next day, my brother Jake shows up with his wife Rachel, who is visibly pregnant. Seriously, can anyone not be happy these days? At dinner, the conversation revolves around Jake and Rachel's baby plans, and I'm just sitting there feeling more isolated than ever. My mom, sensing my silence, even tried to bring me into the conversation, but how can you even do that when I feel like a ghost of what I used to be? Then, out of the blue, my ex shows up. She claims she wanted to make amends with the family. I was just about to take a bite of mashed potatoes, but I dropped my fork. I couldn't believe my eyes. She sits down at the dinner table like she owns the place, and the first thing she talks about is her new relationship. My blood was boiling. I just wanted to scream, but I couldn't. Not in front of my family. Then my younger sister Kate, who's like 14, innocently asks my ex about her new boyfriend. Then the ex smirks and says she's having fun being single now. That was it. I couldn't take it anymore. I stood up abruptly, said I needed to take a walk outside, and just left. Outside, I just started plotting a way to get back at her for her callousness. I remembered the Halloween party and figured I could throw a party of my own, inviting all my friends but not my ex. So I did it. I sent out invites with a theme centered around moving on. It was perfect. I even promoted it on social media, making sure it got as much attention as possible. The day of the party, I decorated the house with reminders of past relationships and new beginnings. I was feeling a rush of excitement. I even invited my buddy to come dressed as the ghost of past relationships, and everyone found it hilarious. A couple of hours into the party, my ex hears about it and tries to crash it. She wanted to turn heads and be the center of attention, just like she always did. I see her at the door, and for a moment, I thought about letting her in. But then I remembered all the crap she put me through, and I decided to ignore her and focus on my friends. My friends gathered around me, and we just started chatting, laughing, and having a good time. My ex was standing there at the door, trying to get attention, but it wasn't working. Everyone made her feel out of place. The whole night, I shared funny stories about my past relationships, including how I got dumped on Halloween, and everyone found it hilarious. My ex just stood there, looking more and more uncomfortable as the night went on. Eventually, she left, just as frustrated as I was a week ago. After the party, I got a text from my ex claiming I've changed and that she misses me. I read it, smirked, and blocked her number just like that. I felt like I was on top of the world. I thought about how lucky I was to have friends like these who had my back. But then, a day after the party, I get a call from my mom asking for a chat. I just don't know what to expect. I'm feeling all sorts of emotions, and I'm kind of nervous about what she might say. Like, is she mad at me for what I did? Or maybe she's finally going to understand how much her actions hurt me. I just really want us to talk about all this and hope we can figure it out. I mean, I'm all in for family, but right now I'm just a little shaken up. I read all your comments, so please drop them below. Edit. My mom had a lot to say during our talk. She was upset about my ex crashing the party and how I treated her. I explained how my ex hurt me and why I threw the party. My mom apologized for being insensitive and not realizing how much my breakup affected me. She assured me that she still loved my ex, but understood why I needed space. We agreed to have a family dinner without her next week to catch up. I appreciate everyone's support. Am I the idiot for resisting my wife's push for a third child despite family pressure? My wife and I now have 2 beautiful kids, a 5-year-old daughter and a 2-month-old son. We love them dearly, as any parent should. I love my wife as any husband should. Recently, though, a few weeks after the birth of our son, my wife started saying that in another 2 years, she wants to try for a third. Later, she became more definite, saying that we're going to have a third, and has started planning for it in her head as if it's a done deal. We cannot afford a third child. As much as I would love to fill our house with as many kids as possible, I love watching children grow, develop, and learn. We can only reasonably afford the 2. 1 was easy to adjust to, 2 was a little bit of a belt tightener, but 3 would put us in a situation where we're in debt every month, unable to give each child the time and attention they deserve, unable to do the things we want to do with them, and unable to take them to the places we'd like to go. For clarity, our first child was a surprise, as we were told we would not be able to have kids without help, so we didn't use protection. No need, right? But quite soon after we had her, we both agreed we wanted a second now that we knew it was possible. A little backstory. I'm an only child, and my wife is one of 6. Both of us have always wanted more than one child. My childhood was spent mostly at home because my mom was too ill to take me anywhere most of the time, and my dad was working as much as he could, eventually having to stop entirely to become my mom's full-time caregiver. As such, I know what it's like to be constantly disappointed that we couldn't go somewhere or do something or get something that I wanted. I quickly grew up and realized it wasn't their fault, so I never blamed them. I still don't. My wife, on the other hand, was lucky that her family was the opposite. They got to go everywhere and do everything. No grudge against that. But it's meant that she seems to not understand that when I say we can't afford a third child, I don't mean just in terms of money, though that is a big part of it. I don't want my oldest child to inadvertently become a third parent. I don't want my son to suffer the classic middle child syndrome. And I don't want them all to feel like they're missing out and having to fight for their parents' love and attention. Another thing is that while my wife was in labor with our son, someone mentioned the possibility of having a third, or if we were stopping with 2, now that we had 1 of each. I chuckled along with them and said, "Oh no, 2's enough." My mother-in-law said that if my wife wanted another child, then she would get it, and that if I wouldn't give her one, she would go and find someone who would, because that's what I would do, and I know my daughter. I turned around and said that no, she's more loyal than that, and that was that. Or so I thought. Recently, while I was holding our son, my wife said that she can't believe he's already X weeks old. I said, "Yeah, I can't believe how fast it's gone," to which she replied, "It's all right, in another 2 years we'll have it all to do again." Then said it again in her baby voice to my son, ending with, "Much to your father's disgust," then laughed. I laughed too and said, "Well, not to my disgust, but to my bank's disgust." She said it's not all about money, and we can start putting a bit away in the savings pot, so by the time it arrives, we'll have enough, forgetting the fact that we don't have enough to put in savings to begin with, and even if we did, it would last us a year, maybe 2 at the maximum, and then we'd be back to square one. The conversation sort of ended there, but it left me wondering, if she really thinks she knows I'm disgusted by the idea, or even just against it, why would she be pushing for it anyway, and talking as if the decision has already been made? Does she really respect me that little? Which led me to question, would she really go off and find someone who would give her a 3rd child if I didn't? For clarity, I have never, ever had reason to distrust her fidelity in the 10 years we've been together, so I'm not about to start now without clear evidence. The problem is, this isn't the first time she's tried manipulating me and emotionally blackmailing me, but back then I put it down to pregnancy hormones. So I just want to know, how do I even bring the subject up without sounding like I'm just a jerk who doesn't want more kids? Maybe I shouldn't even bring it up and just gently steer her away from the idea and avoid unprotected intercourse. What am I supposed to think? I mean, yeah, I get inside my head and overthink everything, so there could be that to it too. But seriously, what can I do here? Thank you. Now, for a few comments before the update. 1. Get a vasectomy. 2. Let her know you have had a vasectomy. You're making sense for wanting to stop at 2 kids. I absolutely support a woman's right to choose. If she's pregnant, she's the only decider about whether to terminate or continue, and she is also not wrong for wanting 3 or more children and figuring you both would manage somehow. But your body, your choice. You don't want any more kids. So get a vasectomy, make a very detailed budget, and sit her down to go over it. Show her that you simply cannot afford it. Also, explain that she cannot force you to have a 3rd child. It's not healthy, and that perhaps this is a discussion a therapist could help with. Because if one partner desperately wants more children and the other doesn't, it's a very complicated situation. But she can't just waltz over your feelings and objections like that. Now, for the update. I'm back to give my husband and father-in-law vibes as my wife keeps pushing for a 3rd kid. In the comments of my last post, some people said I should just leave or get a divorce. Just to be clear, I'm not planning on leaving my wife, and I think she's awesome. I love her, and we have a pretty good life together. Most of the time, we're on the same page, and I get where she's coming from. I just don't think 3 kids would be good for us. A couple of weeks passed since our last talk about a 3rd kid. Last weekend, I went to a birthday party for my niece at my sister-in-law's house. The party was lively, filled with family, laughter, and kids running around. I thought it would be fun for our daughter to play with her cousins and for our son to meet some family. During the party, I overheard my mother-in-law joking with other family members about how she hopes her daughter will have another baby soon. My wife heard this too, and I could see it made her happy. My mother-in-law is very family-oriented, and I know she wants her kids to have big families. After the party, my wife brought up the topic of a 3rd kid again while we were getting ready to leave. She mentioned how much fun it would be to have another little one to join the family. I didn't say much on the drive home, and we sat in silence. We just got our son to sleep through the night. I don't think either of us is ready to sign up for all that again. The next day, I got a text from my wife saying she had scheduled a family dinner at her parents' house for the weekend. I responded with a thumbs up emoji, keeping it light. At the family dinner, the topic of future grandkids came up again. My mother-in-law said she wanted to see her daughter have a big family like hers. After dinner, I tried to change the subject to sports. My brother-in-law, not knowing about the tension, joked about how many kids our family should have. I laughed it off, but I could see my wife's face. Later that night, my wife and I were cleaning up the kitchen together. She casually mentioned how we could start saving for a third kid fund. I didn't say anything and just kept washing the dishes. The following week, we went to a family gathering for Easter. My wife's cousin announced she was pregnant and everyone congratulated her. I tried to change the subject by talking about travel plans. On the drive home, I mentioned how nice it was to see family together. We were all so tired from the weekend. It was a pretty quiet drive home. My wife was in a good mood, and so were the kids. But then I felt the pressure again when I said I wanted to enjoy the moment with our 2 kids. The next day, I found a brochure for a family vacation to a theme park on the kitchen counter. I don't know where my wife found the time to get that. During dinner, the kids were talking excitedly about the trip, and I felt the pressure rise. My wife suggested we could plan a trip for a family of 5. She said it would be so much fun to go with 3 kids. The conversation ended with her looking disappointed, but not angry. We went to bed without addressing the tension. The next day, she brought up the vacation plans again, asking if I was on board. This led to a discussion where we both acknowledged the pressure from family expectations. The topic was left unresolved, with us both feeling the weight of our differing opinions on the future. I love my wife, but I just don't think we can handle a 3rd kid. Edit. It's been a few months since my last update. My wife and I had a long talk about our future and our family size. We agreed to focus on our current 2 kids and enjoy life together. It wasn't easy, but we're okay now. No more pressure from family, thankfully. Am I the idiot for exposing my best friend's cheating and ruining her wedding plans? For a couple of months now, I've been carrying the weight of a secret that isn't even mine. My best friend cheated on her boyfriend, someone she's been with for years, and I found out through another friend of ours. At first, I tried to stay out of it, convincing myself it wasn't my place to interfere. But the guilt was eating me alive. Every time I saw her boyfriend, I felt like I was hindering him from being with the right person. What made it worse was that I knew he would never find out unless I told him. I was the only one who had the courage to call her out on it, and she didn't seem to have any remorse. She never planned to admit it to him, and even went as far as asking him to hang out with the very people she cheated on him with. It was so disrespectful, and I couldn't stand watching her treat him like this. After weeks of sleepless nights and endless internal debates, I finally decided to tell him the truth. I didn't sugarcoat it or dramatize the situation. I just laid out the facts so he could make his own decision. I wanted to give him his choice, something he never would have had if I stayed silent. I've also made the decision to cut her out of my life. I can't be friends with someone who is so deceitful and unapologetic. It's hard because she's been such a big part of my life, but I can't align myself with someone who treats others this way. Now for an update. After I told her boyfriend, his reaction made me feel like I made the right choice. He was so grateful and appreciative that I told him. He said he would have never known if I hadn't come forward. It hurt him, of course, but he thanked me for giving him the chance to make an informed decision about his future. And yes, it ended up in a breakup. When she found out, she was furious. She said I didn't have the right to tell him. I told her that anyone who knew the truth had the right to speak up. She admitted I wasn't entirely wrong, but she kept saying it should have been her who told him. What confused me even more was when she said I should have helped her to come clean to him instead. That really frustrated me because I tried to encourage her to tell him so many times, and she never did. Why was it suddenly my responsibility to help her when this was her mess to clean up? I honestly think what's holding her back is the fact that they're already planning to get married. But doesn't that make it worse? How could she go into a marriage with such a big secret? I feel frustrated and disappointed. It feels like she's not taking real responsibility for what she did. Instead of owning up to her actions, she's focusing on the fact that I told her now ex-boyfriend, as though that's the bigger issue. It feels like she's deflecting the blame onto me because it's easier than facing the consequences of her choices. I feel like she still wants to stay friends with me, but I'm not sure how I feel about that. I feel sad because we've been through so much together. She's been a big part of my life, and I always imagined her being there for my milestones and me and hers. Her wedding, future successes, and other big moments in our lives. Losing that is heartbreaking. If you were in my position, would you cut ties completely, or would you try to work through it and stay friends? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. This is a tough one, but if you haven't already, bluntly tell your friend that you are disappointed in her and her lack of character. On top of cheating on her boyfriend, she humiliates him by having her affair partners around her boyfriend without his knowledge. What kind of person does that? If your friend can't take accountability for her actions, I'm not sure she's worth keeping around. Comment 2. Even though you were right, I am shocked that she wants to stay friends with you. I would not completely cut her off, but I would distance myself. Moving forward, it will never be the same between you two anyway. It sounds like she is a little bit grateful and that she is glad the wedding is off. Now, for the update. A few weeks after my friend's breakup, I get this text from the ex-boyfriend out of nowhere asking to meet up. Like, I thought he wanted nothing to do with me after I basically ended his relationship. I figured it was a good idea to talk face to face, so we agreed to meet at this local diner where we used to hang out. It was kind of weird being back there, like going back to happier times, but without the friend. So he rolls in looking a bit lost in life, probably still dealing with all the breakup stuff. He tells me he's been feeling all over the place since the breakup. I mean, can you blame the guy? He had no idea what was going on in his life back then. But the best part? He actually thanked me for being honest with him about his ex. Like, wow, I thought I'd be the bad guy forever. Instead, I'm here as the bad guy with a heart of gold, helping him move on. We started chatting about our lives since the split, and honestly, the conversation flowed like it used to. It felt kind of nice, He tells me he started dating someone new, and he actually seems happy about it. Like, I could hear the smile in his voice. It was nice to see him happy, even if it wasn't with my friend. A few days later, he invited me to a birthday party for one of his friends. It was happening at this popular bar downtown, the kind of place where you run into a million people you know. I hesitated at first. I mean, I didn't want to be that girl crashing a party just because I was friends with the ex-boyfriend. But I figured, I'm just here to support him, so why not? The party was lively, filled with laughter and music, a much-needed break from the drama with my ex-friend. He introduced me to his new girlfriend, and she was super friendly and welcoming. I could tell she was a breath of fresh air in his life. But then, of course, things took a turn. The ex-friend of mine was lurking in the background, looking all upset and dramatic. Like, girl, get over yourself. She comes up to me, demanding to know why I was there. I'm like, chill. I'm here to support my friend, and honestly, I thought you were over him. I could see her getting really mad. She accused me of trying to steal him away, making a scene in front of everyone. He intervened, telling her to back off and stop causing trouble. You could feel the atmosphere change. People started to notice the awkwardness. She huffed off, muttering under her breath as she walked out. I swear, she just loves being the center of attention, even if it's negative. He apologized for the awkward encounter. I told him not to worry about it. We laughed it off, and I had a great time at the party after that. A week later, I get a call from his new girlfriend. She's like, "Can we meet up? I need to talk about something important regarding the ex-friend." I'm like, "Okay, what's up?" So we meet at this coffee shop, and she drops this shocking news. The ex-friend had been spreading rumors about me. Like, what the heck? She claimed I had ulterior motives in revealing the truth to the ex-boyfriend. The new girlfriend shows me these screenshots of messages from the ex-friend, and I'm just like, are you serious? It's like the ex-friend is trying to ruin my life all over again. The new girlfriend suggests we confront her together. I'm all in, ready for some drama. We organize a meetup at the local mall food court where the ex-friend often hung out. It's like a reality show waiting to happen. On the day of the confrontation, we arrive early to check out the scene. We spot the ex-friend sitting with a group of friends, laughing and looking all carefree. Typical. I approach her and demand to talk alone. She's all like, "What do you want?" acting innocent. I lay out the evidence from the new girlfriend, and her face just drops. The situation escalates in front of her friends, and you can see her scrambling for a defense. But she falls silent. It's kind of satisfying, to be honest. She storms off, humiliated and exposed. The fallout from that confrontation spread super fast. Her friends started to distance themselves, and she lost a ton of support. Meanwhile, my social circle grew stronger. It felt good, like a win. I gotta say, after all the mess with my ex-friend, I'm just really grateful for the amazing people I've got in my life. Like, the new girlfriend is such a gem for standing by me and calling out the ex-friend's nonsense. And honestly, the ex-boyfriend? He's been a solid dude through all this. Like, totally not what I expected. All of this made me realize that sometimes you gotta deal with the bad to get to the good, and I'm just thankful that the good is so good. Edit. I want to clarify that I did not pursue the ex-boyfriend romantically after the breakup. I valued our friendship and did not want to jeopardize it. He mentioned that he struggled with trust due to his ex's actions, but assured me he wasn't suspicious of our friendship. The new girlfriend is a real gem, and I genuinely hope their relationship thrives. As for my ex-friend, she eventually apologized to me after some time, but I chose not to accept it. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.